Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, February the 20th, 2022. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. We made it through another week. It's been bumpy for a lot of people, I know, but I'd like to welcome everyone to the show. Tonight we will go over methane. The latest data from CAMS was for Tuesday, the 15th, I believe that was. And I have that recorded, and I will put that in. And then we're going to go over the Noaa methane data for 2 days. We're going to go over Climate Reanalyzer and sea ice, Arctic and Antarctic, and some earthquakes, and that's about it. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. I hope everyone is hanging in there and just doing the best you can. Now, CAMS, we got a couple of things here. Chart could not be produced. We have no methane data and no carbon dioxide data since Tuesday. See the blanks here for methane and carbon dioxide. All of the other items are up and available. I'll keep checking on this, and as soon as any information becomes available, I'll be recording it and posting it on my Subscribestar page. Also, they put this notice up a few days ago saying that there's going to be a service disruption for about 6 hours on March the 23rd. They're migrating to the new data center in Bologna, Italy, and this includes the move of the Atmosphere Data Store, or the ADS, and the ADS will be shut down at 12 UTC on the 23rd, and they're thinking it'll come back up by 18 UTC on the 23rd. And here's the details for the post. It takes a little while for it to load, and these the details. It says that the charts on CAMS won't be affected, but we'll just have to take everything as it comes, and then if it goes down, it goes down. And we've seen methane and carbon dioxide be held up for up to 10 days at one point, and then they'll start releasing it really fast, and it'll just be up for a couple of hours, or 5 or 6 hours, and then new data after that. So you got to be quick on recording it. So now we'll look at the Noaa data. I have 2 days worth that I need to cover. The 18th, which was Thursday, this is for the 477/469 millibar reading. This is the MET-OP-B or MET-OP-1 satellite for the morning. The mean or average was 1919 parts per billion. The high reading was 2514. In the afternoon, the mean was 1918 and the high reading was 2460. And we're seeing pinks pretty far south. See, even over Australia on the southeastern side, South America, and Southern Africa. And then for Saturday the 19th, in the morning, the mean was 1915, the high reading was 2448, and in the afternoon the mean was 1919, and the high reading jumped up a little bit to 2606. Here's the spreadsheet and chart that I've been working off of. So for the 19th, that averages out to be 1917 parts per billion, showing an overall decrease for the week of 1 part per billion. And so here's the line, just barely going down for this week. Now, in my last report, we had an increase of 5 parts per billion for the week. So it had been up to 1918, and now it's been going back and forth. Now we'll go over what it's done for the week. So here we were in my show last Sunday. The data for Saturday the 12th was 1918. And then Sunday it stayed the same, no change. Monday it went down 2 parts per billion to 1916. Tuesday it went up 1 part per billion. Wednesday it went up 1. Thursday it went up 0.5. Friday no change. And then Saturday it went down 1.5. So we've been just seeing a stair-stepping this week. And at one point, well, here on the 13th, we were 29.5 parts per billion higher than a year ago. And then on the 18th, 27.5. Now, right now, on the 19th, we're 23.5 parts per billion higher than we were a year ago. Now, we're almost coming up to March the 1st, which is when I started recording this in 2019. So we're almost back to that anniversary. Now, next Sunday will be the 27th, so we'll almost be at that anniversary. So we'll just keep rocking. I'll just keep on reporting for as long as I can. And now I will stop this recording and play the methane for Tuesday the 15th, which I recorded on Wednesday in my midweek update show for my Subscribestar members, so I'm just going to put that in here. And then moving over to cams, I have Tuesday the 15th loaded up, Arctic view and surface level ready. There's our color ledger. So the data is for Tuesday, and the forecast period is Wednesday through Saturday. So remember, it's gone down and then come back up 1. Went down 2 and came up 1 part per billion. Now we're still seeing very high releases here marching across Russia. See the dark red, and then it moves out into the ocean there. We're still seeing it below here at Komsomolets. See, it's not as bad as it had been, but it's not stopping. It's just gonna keep going, I think. And we're seeing it come back here in Norway and Sweden area. And here it is at Koktovik on the coastline of Alaska. And we're seeing greens come in. That's a lower reading. And it's still billowing here from North Dakota. See, that's where that lignite coal mine is. Look at, thought I saw something popping up here on Iceland. Let's run it through again and watch here. Yeah, we've got a higher reading there, it looks like. It's not as high as we've seen it, but not the highest we've seen it is what I meant. Now we'll go to the North Pole view. Persian Gulf is filled up. Here's India. See, it's still spilling over. Kind of heavier in the Bengal Bay here. And see, it's spilling over. This is Yemen. And what is this? Omar. I think that's Omar there. Off the coastline. And then, or Oman, not Omar. We'll have to look on the earthquake map. Here's China. See, it's filling up. And Korea is filling up. And then here, look at the US. It's a big blob. That's definitely not looking good. Look at the waves. See the greens moving all these different directions, and then here comes a big wave of orange out. Let's go over to earthquakes. So I'm looking at the southern end of Saudi Arabia. Yeah, Oman. That's what I thought. I called it Omar. Oman is here, Yemen is here, so we're seeing methane spilling over the coastline there. This is the Arabian Sea. That's one thing I've really liked learning about the USGS site, is you can find all the countries over there and see where they are without a bunch of interference from clouds and different things. Okay, now here's the Antarctic. So it's coming up on the Amory Ice Shelf, and it's really just filling up this whole Brunt Ice Shelf region. And this Larsen B, I think that's the Larsen B or C. I think that's the B area. Then on this west side, see, it's a little bit popping up. Also on this little elbow. And Pine Island Glacier is right up in that cubby hole. So not much navy blue. We see a little bit wafting through, and then it dissipates. I think, you know, we have the stair stepping, and we will have that. It won't go just straight up. Which is a good thing, but the trend is generally up. Now here's the global view. And the only navy blue we have is right down here in the Pacific. And then we have higher readings. See the aquas, a light aqua and a more solid aqua. They're both trending downward here, drifting. See, they're coming further south. And I say this very frequently. You have to remember that we are in uncharted territory. This is the high it's been for this time of year since they've been recording it. So we don't know what to expect. We just don't know. We're in no man's land. Okay, here is 500 HPA. See, it's almost solid with that dark color all the way up. Here's a little bit lighter red up here on the coast of Siberia. And now we'll look at total column. And here's the highest readings in China, here in North India. I've got a high reading down here in Africa, also in Brazil and South America. Okay, we're back. Now we'll move on to the Climate Reanalyzer part of the show. We're here for today on 2-meter temperature anomaly, and we're seeing a lot of red up here in northern Russia and brown all the way across northern Russia here, and we're seeing red just north of Novaya Zemlya and brown coming across the Arctic basin. Then a lot of blues and purples even coming down into Canada and Greenland. And see, we've got reds and browns over a lot of Alaska. And here's the flat view for the globe. So mainly from Russia over all the way to Europe, we're seeing browns so higher than normal. And then about half of the US has browns. And Africa's got some browns in Australia. Then we've got some browns in the Antarctic. Now it's showing that the Arctic is at minus 0.6 C lower than normal, and that's because of all of the blues and the purples that we're seeing across Greenland and Canada and Alaska. So otherwise it would be higher than that with all that red up there in Russia. Worldwide we're up 0.1 C higher than normal. So this has gone down. Northern Hemisphere is up 0.3 C. The Antarctic is up 0.2 C. The Southern Hemisphere is down 0.1 C. And the tropics are up 0.1 C. So overall, we've got lower temperatures worldwide today. Here's precipitation and clouds. And the green is rain. We can see rain coming up to Iceland, and then we've got snow. The blue is snow around in the Arctic there. Here's the flat view, and we've got rain coming very far south, almost up to this western peninsula in the Antarctic. Here's what's left of the jet stream is just broke. Look at the wobbly or the waviness, is what I meant to say. And the breaks, huge breaks, and there's no stream. It's not even clumps anymore. It's just pieces, jet pieces. It broke last year and we can't put it back together. Here's sea surface temperature anomaly. This is as of Saturday. Now we're seeing browns up here just north of Noaa Data, and here in the Barents Sea and around Svalbard, also around Greenland, and we're still seeing the reds and into the pinks, which the highest reading here is 6C, higher than normal. But I think it's really higher than that. I think they probably need to upgrade their color ledger there. Getting some reds coming in this Gulf of Mexico. Here's the flat view, and we've got some high readings around Africa and see around Australia, and then Japan and the Pacific and the interior bodies of water. See, we're getting browns. This is the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. We've got some browns in the Mediterranean, browns in the North Sea and in the Baltic Sea as well. And then Pacific, you can see where the browns are. Worldwide, we're up 0.3 C, higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.4 C. The North Atlantic is up 0.7 C. The North Pacific is up 0.3 C. The southern hemisphere is up 0.3 C. And the equatorial Pacific is down 0.2 C. So they're lower overall, except for this equatorial Pacific. It had been down 0.3 C, so that's a little bit higher. But it's still, we're seeing sea surface temperatures that are detrimental to the planet, definitely. Next, I want to finish these images that I've got from CAMS. This is for today. This is sulfur dioxide for today. Now we can see that all that sulfur dioxide from Tonga has pretty much dissipated. Most of it drifted to the west and dissipated over this Indian Ocean area. And here it is at 500 HPA, so we're not seeing super high readings at 500 HPA, but we're just seeing leftover here in South America and so on, where the high readings have been. This is the ozone readings for today from CAMS. This is the Antarctic. We can see the hole is forming and the sun is going down there, and see the break here on this whole western side. And so the greens, anything with a greenish tinge is below normal. So all the continent is in this below normal reading, and we've got the holes opening up from the center all the way up west and coming up in the Pacific and South America, and then coming up from the Ross Sea area as well. Also on the east we've got a break, so that's not looking good. Here's the Arctic view of the ozone. we've got a thinning here over the Arctic basin. Then these high readings from China around and here over this Norwegian area. Here's the global view, and see, we've got thinning here coming up the Atlantic and all the way in most of this, all the southern hemisphere pretty much is in the greens except for just a little bit down here around the Antarctic. That's all of those. Now, we'll move on to the sea ice portion of the show. So I save these images every day from Climate Reanalyzer. Easy way to do that, you just do a right click and do a save as. It's easy to do. Here is sea ice and snow cover for today. And here we're seeing this fringe around Greenland and a little bit coming back in the Baffin Bay and then around by Canada. And here's this east side. Now we were seeing a hole opening up again from Svalbard up to Franz Josef Land. That's kind of filling in, and we have a little bit of regrowth here in the Barents Sea and around Novae Zemlya. And we had a hole open up by Severnae Zemlya, and that seems to be closing up now as well. Now we'll go through the images for this last week. Here's where we were last Sunday in our show on the 13th. You might not be able to notice that much of a change, but I still show these images. But you know, we'll see more dramatic changes in the summertime. So here was Sunday, here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now see, here's a little regrowth coming back on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and today. So, you know, it went away a little bit up here in the North Kara Sea, and then it's coming back there. Now, before I go on, I want to show something else. I want to make a correction in my show last week. I was comparing, and see, I've got this posted. This is on my Subscribe Star Archives page on my website for February. This is, and I posted this on the 2nd. That's when I found this. This is Arctic sea ice extent, and remember, they were comparing it to the blue line is this year, 2021 to 2022, and they were comparing it to the winter of 2012 to 2013. Remember, the summer of 2012 was when we had that record low extent, and so this was the refreeze after that record low. But then, and so that was on January 29th, and then on February 1st they posted this picture, and it looks a lot different. And I finally saw that it's a different year. They changed the year on February 21st. They changed the year of the comparison for the dotted line for 2011 to 2012. I don't know when they normally do that, whether I thought they would do it after the refreeze had finished, so that we could have a good comparison for 2012 to 2013 on the refreeze, but they changed it on February 1st. So I wanted to make that correction. I thought it was still, I didn't look closely enough, but it's definitely 2 different years that we're comparing here, 2012 to 2013 in January, and then starting in February 2011 to 2012. So there's that. So I just thought I'd get that cleared up. Now I will continue with my sea ice portion. Close that out. Now we're at the Navy website, U.S. Navy. This is Arctic sea ice thickness for today, the 20th. And here's the chart on the right, the color ledger going from 0, which is white, or nothing, it's gray, up through the backwards rainbow, up to the dark red, which is 5 meters thick. We can see that most of the Arctic now is in some shade of aqua, going from the dark aqua, which is about 1.5 meters thick, up to the bright aqua, which is about 2 to 2.5 meters thick, bright aqua here, and then moving into, we've got a little bit of green around the Canada and the Greenland coastlines. That's about 3 meters thick. Yellow, just a little hair here at Canada and Greenland. Yellow is about 3.5 to 3.75 meters thick. The bright red is about 4.5 meters thick, and then the dark red is 5 meters thick. And we have a little sliver of the dark red that we'll see. So let's zoom in and see what's happened here. Now here in quadrant 1, we're still seeing it's quite thin around this western coastline of Severnae Zemlya. It almost looks like it's non-existent, but I think it's doing a refreeze. From what we'll be able to see on NASA Worldview, it looks like a little refreeze there, but we've got the dark aquas, and then the blues and purples, and then this Laptev Sea is pretty thin right around the coastlines, especially. See, that's pretty thin all the way up. And then on the east side of Severnae Zemlya, we've got aquas where it's piling up along the coastline. And then in quadrant 2, pretty thin. And here's Noaa Zemlya. This is the Kara Sea, and it's now a lot of this is in the sunlight now. The sun is coming up here in the Arctic. Now we're still having a little bit of refreeze here in the Barents Sea. You can just barely see it. That's just some wispy ice coming back. And I still think there's a hole there at Franz Josef Land. and it's pretty thin coming down to Svalbard. And then the North Pole here is in dark aqua or darker aqua. That's probably about 1.75 meters thick at the North Pole. And then in quadrant 3, which includes Greenland and Ellesmere Island, we've got bright aqua, which is about 2 to 2.5 meters thick. Still have this thin part, or this hole, up on the northeastern edge of Greenland, and then aqua coming down outside of that, and then thicker purple coming out. And we're still seeing thin ice in the nearest strait for a good bit of it, and then it moves into aqua, so that's thickening up. Still kind of thin right at that opening from the nearest strait coming into the Baffin Bay, and then this Baffin Bay is thickening up into blues and aquas on this west side, and we're still seeing a little bit of regrowth coming down along this Greenland side even, and then a little fringe getting a little bit thicker out or further out around Canada. Here in the Hudson Bay, it's getting thicker on this east and southern coastlines, and it's still thin on the west side. Here in the tributaries, they're thickening up into the aquas more. And then in quadrant 4, this includes a lot of the Arctic Basin and the Beaufort Sea. We've got the thickest ice right along this Canadian coastline here, and we've got a little bit of thicker ice here along the Greenland coastline too. And then yellow and green coming out, and then you can see the Beaufort Sea is thickening, mainly shades of aqua. Also here in the Chukchi Sea and next to the Bering Strait, that's doing a little bit of thickening. Last week this was still in the blues and purples. Now it's moving into the dark aqua, so that's thickening up as well. And then also on the other side of the Bering Strait, this is the Bering Sea, where it comes out into the Pacific. We still have a little bit of regrowth coming out here. This is thin and broken up ice. And then on the Russia side, from Kamchatka over across this Sea of Okhotsk, see along the coastline we've got some thin, and then moving into aquas, and then coming down this isthmus and down into around Hokkaido, Japan even. So that's where we're at there. We're also seeing a little bit of regrowth here in this North Baltic Sea next to Sweden. Sweden and Finland there. Here we'll look at the 30-day animation. The data goes back 3 weeks, and the forecast period goes out to next Saturday. This was updated to yesterday. Now traditionally the regrowth goes until around the first part of March. And we had stalled out last week, and it had gone down a little bit. But you'll see that it's gone up a little bit this week. A tiny bit. that's on the extent. Now, there's big difference between extent and thickness and volume. And in 2012, when the sea ice got, when the extent got so low, the thickness, I mean, there was a lot more ice down here in the 5 meter and higher range even. It was a lot healthier ice than what we have now. And at that point there wasn't as much Atlantification coming in, and the mixing of the salt water with the fresh water, and that causes melting underneath and harder to refreeze and so forth, because the salt water freezes at a lower temperature, about 2 to 2.5 degrees lower than fresh water. So it was a whole different dynamic back then, and it was 10 years ago now. Coming into 10 years. So we're seeing this extent filling in here. It's very thin, but it's filling in here in the Barents Sea, just next to Noaa Data, see, and filling in here by Franz Josef Land, and a little bit by Svalbard. And more thickening happening here in this East Siberian Sea, moving into aquas, the darker aquas and the lighter aqua too, and still thickening up here in this area right between Alaska and Russia in this Chukchi Sea. And a little bit more of extent coming out here in this Sea of Okhotsk, and also in this Bering Sea, it looks like. But then it looks like a little bit of retreat going on right at the end of the forecast period there in the Pacific. And more thickening in these tributaries. So that's what we've got going on there. This is the Beaufort sea ice thickness. Now this was last updated on the 18th, which was Friday, and so we're seeing this is the Beaufort Sea here. Alaska's at the bottom, Canada is over here on the right, and the aquas coming in. Now right now we're still seeing the blues here in this Chukchi Sea. That was as of the 18th, and here's this little sliver of the sea, the dark red, the thickest, which is 5 meters. Then the bright red, and then some greens. Here's the 30-day animation. Again, this was updated on the 18th. So let's see. This is still thickening. Trying to here. But now that the sun is up, all of Alaska's in the sunlight. I don't know how much more this is going to thicken up. we'll just have to just observe. Okay, now we'll go down to the Antarctic. It's still melting. The sun is still up now. It's going down, but they still have full sunlight across the continent. Traditionally, the melt keeps going until around the first part of March, about the same time as we reach our maximum in the Arctic. We reach the minimum in the Antarctic, generally around the same time. So this Ross Sea is open. We just have little hints of ice around. And here, this is next to the Thwaites Glacier and Pine Island Glacier. And then we've got some thicker ice right on this western edge. And then here in the Weddell Sea. And it's got the aqua here. That's the thickest ice there as well. That's the most ice we've got, is right down here in the Weddell Sea. And most of the coastlines have melted almost all the way up to the coastline. Just a little fringe of ice around. And here's the 30-day animation. Again, this was updated to yesterday. So the forecast period goes out to next Saturday. It's still melting. It looks like towards the end of the forecast period, the melt is slowing down a little bit. So there's that. Now, we're on National Snow and Ice Data Center. They put this up today. This is the data from yesterday, the 19th. This is sea ice concentration in the Arctic. Again, the darker the blue is, the thinner and less concentrated it is, meaning there's a lot of gaps between the pieces of ice. And we've got some blues around Severnae Zemlya here, and around Novae Zemlya, and so on. The golden line is the median. We're still under that quite a bit. And see, also in the Sea of Okhotsk, we're way under the median up there. Here is the sea ice extent, and see that dotted line is 2011 to 2012. Now that we know that, that really threw me for a loop, and why they would change it right in the middle of the refreeze. You know, I thought that was kind of sneaky to me. I don't know if that's when they normally do it or not. I would think they'd wait until after it reached its maximum, so you can get a good so that you keep comparing to at least the same line. But now we're not comparing to the same line as before. So for 2011 to 2012, apparently we're kind of neck and neck with that now. So according to that, we had been above it, then we dipped below. Comparison to that, we're still quite a bit below the average, which is up here, but we are still below the 2011-2012 line. But now last week it was going down, but now it's headed up. That's kind of at, I don't know if that's I'm not sure what angle that is, but maybe a 45-degree angle. Not sure, maybe a 30-degree angle. But we're just right at that 2011-2012 line. Alright, here's the Antarctic and sea ice concentration. Again, the golden line is the median, and see, we've lost all of this ice that had been around this southwestern edge. That's all melted out, and it's way down here in the Weddell Sea too for the median. Here's sea ice extent. It's still going down, and now it's slowing down, but it's still going down. The blue line is this year, this gray-green line is last year, and last year the refreeze started early, just around the end of February. So we'll see what happens this year. And see, they're still comparing it to last year. They didn't change the comparison here. And that's all of those. Now, we'll move on to NASA Worldview. Here we are on the 20th. I'll refresh so we can get all the data in. We can see this black circle is shrinking as the sun is coming up. And so where the black is, it's still in the dark. And so we can see most of Novae Zemlya is in the light now. Almost all of Taimyr Peninsula is in the light. And the rest of the Russia coastline is all in the light. All of Alaska, most of Canada is in the sunlight. Just a little bit of the coastline up in this archipelago, and Ellesmere Island is still in the dark, and this northern part of Greenland is still in the dark. Svalbard, Franz Josef Land, and Severnaya Zemlya are still in the dark as well. Now we'll turn on this sea ice concentration layer. I'll turn on the blue marble layer, and it's easier to see. Here we are today. And where you see the colors, it's either melting or refreezing, and we can see that where we had been seeing colors here up by Severnaya Zemlya on this west side, that's closed in, and we're still seeing quite a few holes or colors here in the Kara Sea, and we've got colors here north of Novae Zemlya. This is refreezing, and see, we've got a fringe coming out along Novae Zemlya, and here's the inching out with the extent coming back out here in the Barents Sea, and it's trying to refreeze here around Svalbard. So let's go. We'll go through this. Go back to last week. Here's where we were last week. Here, I'll scoot it over. We'll focus in on this area. Here we had the hole around Franz Josef Land and opening up down to Svalbard, and see all this ice colors here in this Laptev Sea where it was open, and there was a lot more open water north of Noaa Data and here in the Barents Sea. So let's click through, see what happened this week. Here's the 14th. You can see the regrowth coming back here. 15th, 16th. That was a big change. See up here. 17th, 18th, 19th, and today. So, big change in the last couple of days. And then the regrowth in the extent out here. So that's why you're seeing that blue line go up a little bit on the extent. Now we've got a little fringe of ice right down here, just southeast of Greenland. When did that pop up? Today. So there's that. Now earlier the nighttime view layer was not active. I don't know if they've got that on now. No nighttime layer today or yesterday or the 18th. Here's the last we had of any nighttime layer here on the 17th, and it was a partial. What we're able to see from this is this open water. This is Franz Josef Land here, so see all the black. That's open water. And also here, this is Severnae, and this is Komsomolets here. So this is pretty open. A little bit of refreeze. See the little fringe of ice, see the gray. That's the refreeze happening there. And pretty open coming around there too. And then here in this Kara Sea, here's the condition of the ice. See, there's a lot of holes there. This was on the 17th, which was Thursday. See, so it's, it's not solidly frozen. See, a lot of this is very thin ice, especially up around the coastlines. Here's the Yamal Peninsula, and then here's Novae Zemlya there, and then there's the Barents Sea. So that was the main thing I wanted to show on that. Here it was on the 16th. Let's see. Here's this Thwaites Sea. Now look at here along this coastline. See this very thin here, and see how these leads are opened up. I don't know if this actually refroze there between those pieces of ice. Here, see. So the leads are opening, or they were on the 16th. See, same thing here. Here's Wrangell Island. Let's get our bearings. Okay, here's the Bering Strait. Here, there's the ice. Now they're showing this in aqua. I guess that's the I mean on the Navy website, I guess it's this area is thicker, even though we've got the leads opened up. Here's Alaska. Okay. Let's see. There's the ice. Now we're looking through a cloud here, I think. Clouds. Here's Koktovik area. See all the lights? See where we are. So that's the Beaufort Sea, and so on. That's about all we can see. Now down here by Greenland, now this was Wednesday, remember. Here's this nearest strait. See where the ice is thickened up here, and then we've got the this problem area on the northwest edge. See a lot of open water there. And then coming up, here's this nearest strait. It's a little darker, but you can still see the open water in between the pieces of ice there. And here's the Lincoln Sea. See. So, oh yeah, look at this. This is just north of Greenland. Look, this is the coastline of Greenland. See? See? Open water there. Open water. All these leads you can see. and out here. So this was the last good view that we had in nighttime view of the sea ice. See the leads opening. So there's that. Now, I'll turn that layer off. We'll go back to today. And we'll see what we can see in the satellite view. Let's go over here. We've got a bunch of clouds. Here's the coastline. See that open water? This is the Kara Sea. Here's the Yamal Peninsula. And then, let's see. See, here's open water. We're looking through clouds. See. Then moving on up, this is the North Kara Sea. So we've got open water there. And then moving around, here's the Laptev Sea. Here you go. That's a clear view. Look. There's the sea ice. Here's the coastline. What you have, there's a shelf, there's a little shelf of ice. Sometimes it comes further out from the coastline, and then so that's a little bit thicker, and then right next to it you see a break, and then it's thinner ice that comes in. And see those leads. Here's this East Siberian Sea. And now this is concentrated. See, you can't see the leads here. This is concentrated. See, it's all frozen together. Can't see the breaks. Here's Wrangell Island. Here's the Bering Strait. See? And now, coming up next to Alaska, you see the cracks there. Coming up, here's Barrow. This is the Beaufort Sea. See the cracks. Those are the leads. and then Canada. So this is concentrated. Can't really see anything there. And then Greenland. This is the Baffin Bay. We've got a bunch of clouds here. Can't see the ice. And here on this eastern side, we've got clouds, but there's the ice right around the edge. So that's the Antarctic. The Arctic. Now we'll go to the Antarctic. Here we are today. We've got a lot of clouds. Starting down here on the southern side, this is the Ross Sea. It's open. There's no ice. That was all melted out. This is the Ross Ice Shelf. It's pretty cloudy today. And then coming around, there's no ice up to the coastlines here. Now, right here, this is the Thwaites Glacier. We had a really good view yesterday. Now remember, we saw this tongue start disintegrating. When was it? First part of the month. Here's what it looks like now. See where it cracked all the way across. And see how it's all broken up. Here's what it looks like. Just in pieces. Here's the biggest piece, one solid piece there, and then it had broken up further south too, or west, I guess that is. But there's a cloud over that. Here on the 18th, we can see through the cloud layer a little bit. See, those pieces are coming apart. It's usually cloud covered down here, so it's hard to see what's going on. And then here at Pine Island Glacier, here it was on the 19th. These holes are opening up. This is where it calved off a couple of years ago, and another hole here on this left-hand side. This is the sea ice where it refroze. I'm surprised that it has held together this year. But this is the glacier. You can see the flow. Here it is today under a cloud. And then coming around, here's the Western Peninsula. And here, this is the iceberg I'm following now, the A76 iceberg. It's still intact, and it's got momentum, and it's moving through the sea ice. And I don't know if it's going to make its way out before the refreeze starts or not. It's got momentum though. Now that broke off from this ice shelf right down here in the Weddell, on the Weddell ice shelf. It broke off down here last year, and we've been watching it. It rotated out, and it's been following along this western peninsula. Here's this western peninsula, and this is the Larsen C ice shelf and the Larsen B, what's left of it. Still, man, that is really broken up. The Larsen A went away a long time ago up here. This is an area where we see methane coming up pretty much on a constant basis. Also, down here along this Brunt ice shelf is another area where we see methane coming up. We've got clouds here, but this is open down here. This is the Weddell Sea. Here's the Weddell ice shelf. So the majority of the ice is here in the Weddell Sea, and the thicker ice, the majority of it is here too, kind of scrunching down. And then these coastlines are open. And then on the eastern side, this is the Amory Ice Shelf. This is another area where we see methane coming up. The last good view of this was on the 17th. Got a little cloud down here, but for the most part, it's open. I mean, no clouds. So you can see the melting here in that little inlet. And see the flow. Got more blues. I'm thinking these are melt ponds. See these little blue areas, and up here. And a melt pond is where the ice is melted on the top, and it's just water sitting as a pond on the ice. Now this is a cloud here. Here we are today. Here's this eastern side. See, that's open. And then here's the Thwaites Glacier. We've been following this. And there's the tongue. See, it's cracked all the way across. You can make that out. I don't think that's going to break off this season. And the southern edge, and we're back to where we started. And this is Ross Island. It's been cloudy all week. The best view we've had was from the 12th, which I already showed last week. This is Mount Erebus, which is a volcano, and there's the shadow of of the volcano there. Let's see, that's all open. So that's melting in that inlet. And it's been cloud covered since then. There it is today. See, the volcano is sticking up through the clouds there. And this is a volcano too, it's sticking up. So there's that. Now we're going to look at some earthquakes. Here we are. There were 267 in the last 24 hours here on USGS. The largest ones are in the 5s range. We've got a couple of 5s up here in the Aleutian Islands, a 5.1 and 5.3. Normally we don't see them that big up here. We've got a 3.0. This is an Arctic earthquake. Kind of a larger one. See here in Alaska, right next to the Bering Sea. And see this line of earthquakes. This whole ring of fire is just filled today. Now the Philippines, they've got 6 down here, and 5.6 was the largest at Mindanao, Philippines. That's in the ocean, off the coast of the island there. We've got 4 right here, 5.6 and 5.2 in Pondaguitan. So that's going on. Here's a 5.2 near Panguna, Papua New Guinea. Now New Zealand, what's going on with you guys? We've got 3. Okay, 2 on land. We've got 1 off the coast of Amberley. This is a 4.6. This is off the coast of the Southern Island. Then a 5.2 on land near Blenheim. This came in at 7:06 p.m. Pacific time, which is my time. And we've got 1 on the North Island of 4.5 near Rotorua, and that came in at 1:10 this afternoon. So New Zealand, you've got activity going. And then South America, here we've got 3. The largest was a 5.1 at Pacocha, Peru. Then some 4s, and here movement around this Cocos Plate. Here's a 4.6. Here's Sardinal, Costa Rica. And then a 4.7 on the red line off the coast of Central America, and then a 4.3 at Piedecuesta, Colombia. And so on. The usual action in all the usual places. It's been quiet in the Pacific Northwest, I think, because it's the weekend. And see, we've got movement at the base of this Juan de Fuca plate on the fulcrum point, 2.1 Petrolia, and then all along the San Andreas fault line, and from Searles Valley Ridgecrest up and up by next to Pyramid Lake and so on. The usual. And one, look, Kuril Islands 4.6 and so on. Now we're going to finish up. I'm going to start on Ecclesiastes on my Sunday night shows. There are 12 chapters in Ecclesiastes. I haven't covered Ecclesiastes. Now it's thought that Ecclesiastes was written by Solomon. Ecclesiastes chapter 1. Ecclesiastes, or the preacher. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where he arose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from which the rivers come, thither they return again. All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, See, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come, with those that shall come after. I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. I communed with mine own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to great estate, and have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I gave my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is vexation of spirit, for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. Ecclesiastes chapter 1. So we're going to see things repeat from one time to another, and things that are pertinent in the Old Testament are now pertinent now and pertinent in the New Testament are applying now. And I do believe we're in the end times, and time is very short, and things are collapsing all around us, as we can see. And we need to get ourselves right with God and Jesus. We need to get our spiritual houses in order and ready to leave the planet. No one knows the day or the hour. Only God does. But are you ready? I encourage you to get ready if you're not ready. So I hope everyone has a good week. And I'm praying for all of you, and I love you. Until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.